Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Violent Night. It's like I told you, finally got back out into the theaters. The theater closest to me, Stone Ridge, doesn't have reclining seats, so if I wanted to go see Avatar Way of the Water, it's definitely not have reclining seats. But I wanted to get back out there on the movies, keep the content coming as opposed to just the language litigation and the book club. So this one looked interesting. So I'm going to read you the overview. I'll give you my overall graded impressions, plot synopsis, and character development, and similar movies ? Probably not. So overview says, an elite team of mercenaries breaks into a family compound on Christmas Eve, taking everyone hostage inside. However, they aren't prepared for a surprise combatant. Santa Claus is on the grounds. He's about to show why this Nick is no saint. So director Tommy Wirkola was released on December 2nd, 2022. It's a comedy action. It went for an hour and 52 minutes. 92% of Google users liked it, 73% of Rotten Tomatoes, 4 out of 5 on Common Sense, and 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb. So obviously a very raunchy film, a very, very gory film set against the Christmas backdrop. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was going to give it an A. I think the plot still could have been a little tighter. I'm actually going to bump it up to an A-. A lot of the shows I land in between the B range. Obviously I do a lot of these. And so this is one of the first movies in a while I give Top Gun A for seriousness and action and overall cinematography. This one for the raunchy jokes. I thought the writing was absolutely fucking hilarious. Really raunchy, really debauchery going on in this movie. But I just thought it was definitely my type of humor. I thought the actual gory violence backdrop with like Christmas music and stuff, I just thought it gave it a fun, pleasant tone. I was certainly chuckling and laughing out loud a little bit at some of the lines. And so I was smiling throughout, chuckling throughout. For a 2-hour movie that goes on the comedy action, kind of even a long run time for that kind of genre. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The comedy definitely hit. The plot could have been a little tighter, which we'll discuss shortly. But overall, I thought the characterizations were super fun. Again, they're all. You have Mr. Scrooge, Candy Cane, a bunch of the mercenary teams. A lot. They're just like all of the names of people of like Christmas culture. So it was. I thought it was overall very, very well done and certainly entertaining for the comedy action genre. So definitely recommend this one. Certainly a good one for the whole family. Probably not, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So A-. So if you've not seen the movie and would like to, I'm going to recommend you turn off the video here because there will be spoiler alerts. So we start off the movie and we have Santa Claus. He's pretty boozy Santa Claus. And so he's a real Santa Claus. So in the movie he has some powers. He's still a human, but he has some powers of just like basically he has a bag where you can reach in and pull out a present, but he doesn't like know how it works. And then he has a nice and naughty list. He doesn't like really know how it works. This is kind of like Christmas magic. So you have this guy is kind of drinking at the bar, and so I thought again for even for being like a raunchy film, comedy and violence, there was actually good plot development, more than I thought there would be. And I still would have enjoyed the movie if there wasn't. So I was even surprised that there was actually pretty good plot development. And so the movie starts off, and again it's set where modern day, everyone knows Santa Claus isn't real, but he's actually kind of in the movie's real. And so he's sitting at a bar with another Santa, mall Santa. They're just chopping it up about being Santas. And then he's drinking a little bit. He's definitely wasted. And the bartender's like, "You can't drive." And he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna head out." Walks upstairs, and she's like, "This is the stairway to the rooftop." And then you go up there, and then you see that Santa actually flying away with the reindeer. And he comes back over the bar and just barfs, just goes all over the chick. And so that's the opening scene. And then you get the Violent Night title screen. So that's the beginning. Then you meet Jason Lightfoot and Morgan Steele. They are exes. They have a daughter together, Trudy, who's named after the grandmother Gertrude. And so they are going to Grandma's house to celebrate Christmas. And so the family, they're divorced, and they pick up and they go to the compound. Grandma Gertrude Lightstone is the matriarch of the family, has a huge amount of wealth. Big estate, guards, guest houses, it's a whole compound. And so they go there and they start meeting the friends or the family. So then they're all trying to suck up to Gertrude Lightstone to get her fortune. And so that's why we have Trudy, she's named after the grandmother, and then you meet one of the cousins whose name is Bertrude, which the delivery of that line is fucking funny because they introduce him as Bert, and then the siblings are squabbling about who sucks up more, and they're like, "Shut up! You named your kid Gertrude." It's like, "Well, shut up! You named your kid Bertrude." That fucking made me laugh. And so they're just chopping it up at the getting together with the cousins and the family. And then basically what happens, they get the compound gets seized by the criminals rather quickly. You get into the action pretty quick. And so the catering company, they're having a big festive celebration, and the catering company is the mercenary team. And so the plot development is big matriarch, big wealth, and she had just recently moved about $300 million in cash to a big vault in the bank or in the basement of the house. So they're there to steal the money. And so they round everybody up, they sit them down. Santa Claus is actually in their house, the Lightstone's house, when the siege starts happening. And so before that, I guess, Trudy got a little walkie-talkie where she's like allowed to open a Christmas present before the Christmas day. It's a walkie-talkie, and their parents say you can talk to Santa. And so Santa is in the Lightstone's residence when they start getting seized. And so basically he kills two of the dudes pretty quickly. The first dude kind of fights with him a little bit about, I don't know what, again, the kill scenes are all pretty extravagant. But he always falls out of a window and he gets impaled on just something outside. So he's dead pretty quick, and there's a bunch of bad guys in this one. But so he gets impaled on there. The mercenary team's unaware that Santa Claus is there. And again, the actual plot development of having a real Santa Claus kind of on the backdrop of everyone knowing Santa Claus wasn't real was actually quite interesting for the plot development as itself. And then they have another run-in with another mercenary from the initial team, and it's like he like basically shoves like a Christmas star in his eyeball and then plugs it in and then like electrocutes him, and then his face catches on fire. So he's dead, and off of that guy, he gets a walkie-talkie. Santa gets a walkie-talkie, so he can talk to Mr. Scrooge. He's the head mercenary guy. He's running the operation. He murks the main security guy outside and lets in a bunch of all the other bad guys. Well, the other bad guys are already in there because they're the catering people. And so Mr. Scrooge and Santa Claus go back and forth on the walkie-talkie a little bit. And Mr. Scrooge says he's going to kill Santa Claus. Once he gets the walkie-talkie, then Santa Claus starts talking back and forth with Trudy Lightstone. Again, her parents tell her in the movie that the Santa Claus isn't real. They get kind of tortured a little bit later on. And they're like, Santa isn't real. So Trudy's talking to him, and it's just Santa Claus, who's a real Santa Claus with some powers, but he doesn't really know how they work, and past that he's just a normal human being. Well, not really. So this is where the plot could have been tighter. So in the first two kill scenes, when he's hunting down the mercenaries, you get some background of who Santa Claus is. So he used to be like a barbarian. He used to be like an Anglo-Saxon or someone from the Viking culture. He used to be a punisher. Just go in, he had this like big like Thor-like hammer thing, and just kill a bunch of people, raid stuff, steal shit from like the 1000 AD type range. And so basically you get like Santa Claus is like this background of like this Norse raider dude, and then he's like afraid of like for the first two interactions he's like trying to like get away from the bad guys. I thought the plot would have been way tighter if he just would have been right into Savage Santa mode. And so that's where I thought the plot could have been a little tighter. If they're going to make him be like this Norse god thing that doesn't really die, but could die, kind of, not really, then why would he be like a little bitch about the first two mercenaries he's trying to engage with? So that could have been a little tighter even within the comedy action plot of this movie. But anyway, they get basically about halfway through the movie, Trudy breaks away. All of the family members are now being held hostage in the main living room. Trudy runs away and hides in the attic. And so they start to, I think it's Krampus, one of the dudes who's absolutely, he has a line later on that's absolutely fucking hilarious. But at least I thought it funny. But he, what does Krampus do? I'll get to that later. But basically, he makes them open up their presents. They're basically they're waiting for Mr. Scrooge needs his key, and Gertrude Lightstone has like a hit squad coming or like private security coming, but it turns out they're actually in on the robbery as well. And so they're down there breaking into the safe while Krampus is up there having the family members open presents. Again, another funny line that really made me laugh, actually laugh out loud in the theater. When they first start getting, the mercenaries start like their attack, they kill the Wi-Fi or the connections to stuff. And so they rip out the Wi-Fi, and Gertrude yells, "Grandma, your Wi-Fi sucks dick." And so again, the writing of this one for the comedy raunchy shit I thought was nice. It was good. A- range. But that was a funny line. But anyway, they're opening up their presents, and so they give them some presents. Gertrude, the matriarch Gertrude, doesn't really like them that much, and then Jason gives Gertrude his gifts, and it's basically just a card. And so you don't really get much development as to what's on the card. Honestly, another great point of the actual plot development. So I went to this for the raunchy humor, and it actually had some decent plot developments in there. So you don't really see what's happening on the card. And so you go, they open up the safe, and there's no money in there. And so Mr. Scrooge is really angry. You know, he's up there. He's like, "I'm gonna start shooting people at random." They torture Jason a little bit. They crack his finger in a nutcracker thing. They're going to crack his balls in a bigger one. That's when Trudy runs away, and they go after her. So Jason doesn't get flat balls. And so again, there was one scene that I thought again wasn't even off-putting. Again, the insecurity kind of throws it for me if the movie's dull. This one, there's not much insecurity, but Santa Claus has some reminiscence about Mrs. Claus. And Trudy wants her parents to get back together. So there's one scene for about, 10 minutes in the middle of the movie where Santa Claus and Trudy are talking over the microphone. Again, Santa Claus casts it as this Norse enforcer god thing. It's kind of being like waffling, just going back and forth about being a bitch or not being a bitch. Or Mrs. Claus, not really detracting in this one, and it wasn't for very long. But I think that scene could have also been tighter as well. But they go back and forth talking. And then Santa Claus basically is rejuvenated by Trudy and tells him about his background about being the Norse dude, and now he's gonna go savage mode on all of the bad guys. And so that happens, and then at the once back in the house, like in the main part of the house where they're getting interrogated, you learn that Jason, what he wrote on the card is that he was the one that stole the money. Because when the bad guys open up the vault, there's no money in there, and everyone's like, "Where did it go?" Jason had written on the card that he was going to steal the money from his mom and then dip out with Morgan and Trudy. But it's not clear if Morgan would have just gotten back with him then. It could have been a little tighter there, but I thought the plot development of Jason stealing the money was actually something I did not see coming at all. I went there for the raunchy, fun humor. So I thought that was a good plot development actually. And so Santa Claus is now the private security that is supposed to be working for the Lightstones is now the extraction team for Mr. Scrooge. That's how they had the key to get into the vault. And so they have another 30, 40 dudes come piling in. And so Santa Claus is in this red shed. They're all aware of him, that he's in the house now. He's like, running around. There's maybe a couple Killmore scenes. I don't think he doesn't get candy cane till later. But there's this red shed thing, and about 30 or 40 dudes from the extraction scene go in there to get Santa Claus, and Santa has his ring falls off and rolls over to a sledgehammer, which reminds him of his Thor hammer type thing. And so he just goes savage mode. You have 10 minutes of just slaughtering scenes. And so, again, I thought as someone who's for example, John Wick 3 is another very gory movie. I actually thought this one with the gore and on the backdrop of Santa in Christmas time was actually less if you're adverse to gore at all. Then I thought actually it was less cringy if you're adverse to gore. Whereas there's a scene in John Wick 3, one of the first kill scenes is he's driving a knife into his eye. It's just extremely, extremely overdone. That's just kind of John Wick, the theme of John Wick movies. So this one I would say is slightly less gory than John Wick, certainly very gory, but nothing was super realistic or if someone saw an adult. If you're averse to gore, it might be a little off-putting, but I thought it was well done for what the movie was. And so you have just a slaughtering scene of 30, 40 people. Then you get the stocking stuffer scene after he clears out all the operatives. There's a tech dude outside, and that's when you get the stocking stuffer scene from the previews. I don't think from the previews to the actual movie they use the line when he's talking to Mr. Scrooge. It says something we're the most elite kill squad ever, and he's like, well, I've already killed 2 of you guys, so you can't be that good. That was in the preview, and I don't think that line was in the movie at all. So I thought that was interesting. But then after that, once Jason tells him he's the one that stole the money, he had hidden the money in bags out by the nativity scene. So they go out there. Krampus is left back in the room, and once they get the money, Mr. Scrooge is like, all right, kill all the hostages, let's go. And so Krampus, he's dressed up as an elf. He literally comes like prancing in the room as an elf and says, it's time for a murder. That line just made me fucking laugh as well. Earlier in the movie, another line that made me fucking laugh, and another dude burst out laughing too, is when Santa Claus and Trudy are going back and forth on the microphone. Trudy's like, hyping Santa up to go murk the 30 dudes that he goes to murk. And she's like, take your hammer and shove it up his, and Santa's like, cuts her off. He's like, no, you can't say ass. And she's like, well, can I say butthole? When she delivered that line, I fucking lost it. That was funny. So those are the lines that really stood out to me. But again, the overall banter of the whole movie, I like the humor. The writing was fun to me. So they get the money, or Krampus comes in to kill. Basically, one of the brothers, Morgan, or I forget is it Morgan? No, there's another brother, or like one of the, like maybe a sister with a husband or something. But he's going to be a movie star. During these scenes, he breaks out of the window. He meets the extraction team, thinks it's the private security, and they just mow him down. So one of the hostages does get killed. I don't know who it is up here. It might have been one of the dudes I think I recognize. I think Cam Gigande is the dude. I think that guy played one of the bad guy, or like the antagonist of Never Back Down. That's why when I see that face, it looks like that guy. But I can't remember. Yeah, he wasn't Never Back Down. But don't know if that's him. But one of the brothers gets shot up outside, and so he's dead. That's the only hostage that gets killed in the movie. Pretty much all the bad guys get killed. And so, but another funny line is when they're going out to the nativity scene, and Mr. Scrooge is walking Gertrude and Jason out there. Gertrude's basically like proud of her son. Like we're a piece of shit family. I'm proud of you for stealing my money type of deal. So it was a very playful banter. Really liked it. So another fight scene. They're Gertrude and one of the other the Alva Lightstone and Morgan Steele, Jason's wife or ex-wife. Basically, they disarm Krampus and they beat him to death with like the fire, the things next to the fireplace. They all start grabbing him, beating him, and they stab him in the neck. So he dies. So Krampus is gone. And so they're safe inside. The main Gertrude and Jason are outside with the bad guys, and also Santa Claus, because he's a Norse god or a Norse enforcer dude, doesn't know how to use guns. So he gives Morgan Steele a gun, and then they go attack the people outside. So basically, they get some of the guys. Mr. Scrooge escapes with some of the money, along with the head of security that betrayed Gertrude. And so they're on snowmobiles getting away with some of the money, and Santa Claus chases them down. So there's a final kind of fight scene against Santa Claus and Mr. Scrooge. They both have very good swordsmanship skills. And so also part of the magic thing Santa can do is he snorts like he's going to snort cocaine or something, and then just flies up the chimney. And so again, also the subplot of, again, real Santa with some magical powers, kind of, on the backdrop of, again, the rest of the characters, just Santa isn't real, actually adds some flavor to the plot development. So he just like snorts his nose and he can fly up a chimney. And so, and in the movie, another subplot about how would this work if all of the parents are actually giving the presents. Clearly, if you're a parent and you had 10 presents and there was 12 the next morning, you'd be like, what's that? But so they kind of gloss over that, or make it like Santa Claus only gives presents to the people that still really believe or need it or something. But again, obviously it's just a fun movie. And so they chase down the last fight scene. Santa, they both kind of wound each other pretty good. Santa gets his hand pinned on the wall and he rips through his tendons and stops a knife thing. And basically there's an outside chimney and he does the nose thing and he just rips this dude up through the chimney, just a sack of meat with blood splurting out at the top of the chimney, just throws a chunk of meat down. And so the head of security, like the last two bad guys, Mr. Scrooge is now dead, but the head of security guy is now coming and shoots Santa Claus on top of the thing. He falls down pretty dead, and then right as he does that, Gertrude, like the matriarch, had gotten thrown off of the snowmobile in the chase. She murks her head of security that betrayed her, so he's dead. So now you have Gertrude, the rest of the family, kind of hanging around Santa, who's bubbling, gurgling blood, about to die, the death rattle. And then they're like, we need to keep him warm. And so they just start burning some of the money. It's about $500K. And like the sister Alva, she's like, oh, well, he's pretty much dead. We don't need to burn that half a ticket. We're good. So the tone throughout the movie is consistent and fun. And then just, Santa magic comes back to life. And he's just fine and good and goes back to Mrs. Claus. And so, I thought it was fun, and that is the end of the movie. So, super fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought the humor, the writing the lines were funny, laughed. I was smiling and chuckling the entire movie. Did not look at my phone once to see, is it almost done? I checked my phone once to, see the time it is, but, not like I was, antsy to get out of the movie. Left the theater feeling more just, playful or fun than a lot of the movies I've seen. And certainly still struck me as something different. Don't really have any similar movies for super gory, funny holiday movies. So, A- on the lower end of well done. Plot could have been a little tighter. A couple scenes could have been a little shorter, or just less insecurity. But again, overall in this one, the insecurity was not detracting in any way. Or as opposed to if you have a serious movie, because it's like Santa Claus. Trudy's Christmas wish is she wants to her parents to get back together. So the parents get back together. The subplot of Jason stealing the money, well, I guess not subplot, but plot development of Jason stealing Gertrude's money was actually good development. Like I said, the real Santa in a world with no Santa was actually interesting. I could easily look over just the magical parts. It's very, very minimal fantasy in this at all. And then the fight scenes were good. The lines were good. The characterizations were all funny. Overdone, well done. And there was Trudy does murk a couple ops, or at least helps Santa murk a couple ops. When she's up in the attic, she sets a couple booby traps. Some of them kind of work, and she liked Home Alone. At the very beginning of the movie, she just watched Home Alone. So she had set up some booby traps, and Candy Cane gets killed with she gets stuck in the attic on some sticky stuff, and then it gets part of her head ripped, skin, scalp pulled off. And then Santa comes in and brings his big hammer down. Another dude falls on some nails and dies. So I guess that was another little development I missed. But overall, really enjoyed it. Left the theater smiling, was laughing out loud, chuckling throughout. Enjoyed the movie. So I definitely recommend Violent Night if you're into raunchy, funny comedy, or raunchy comedy and violence. I certainly found this movie funny and entertaining, so I recommend you go watch it. So thank you for watching my review of Violent Night. See you on the next one.